I'm a scientist. I'm also an educator who teaches artificial intelligence and deep learning. To In my day-to-day life, I interact with a lot of students generally. So, want to understand from your research and your knowledge that is there a correlation between caste and education, like choosing an educational field, because we have in broadly in India we have engineering, mathematics, medicine, and then arts, right? So if you see people coming from specific caste choose one. I mean, I just wanted to understand if there is a correlation. If yes, why? I think my question primarily is coming from a lot of students these days, attempting government exams actually, because a lot of students who reach out to me are come to me after exhausting either their number of attempts, or and then like I have wasted these many years doing this, etc., etc., and then tell me if there is something I can do in the software industry. So and I see that a significant amount of those people are people who are coming from the lower stratum, right? What are your observations on this thing, sir?
No, actually, in certain states now, the whole education is forcing these boys and girls to constantly work around these competitive examinations, which do not immediately give jobs to all of them. You know the battle on the streets in Telangana? Several lakhs took in the prelims of Group 1, and the government said that of the total post, 1 is to 50 only we will allow to take the mains, and that came to 31,000 and all. Now 1 is to 50 is a huge thing in a competitive thing. So therefore what is happening is education, like agrarian production, has to be a regular day-to-day school, college working activity, which is not now. Secondly, if your education, school education is rooted to the understanding of tools and technology. You said you are an AI engineer. You know, AI now is not very new. Villagers had their own AI. Yeah, they have several mechanisms which do other things, human things. So, any knowledge that is coming up in the modern science world has a root in the earlier human life. But this is not taught to the children. For example, engineering. In Post in India, there is a chapter called Unknown Engineers, in which I included pot makers, ironsmiths, goldsmiths, and carpenters. Are they engineers or not? Is there a lesson about them in the school? Secondly, there is a chapter called Social Doctors. This is about barbers. And when my mother told me that when I was born, the barber woman acted as midwife. And one of the critical problems in childbirth in villages for ages is cutting the navel connection between mother and with what kind of knife you should cut, because that is the one which can create septic and kill both mother and child. You know, the barber woman did not bring her barber knife, which would not result in septic. She asked people in the house, is there a sickle which is used just yesterday for cutting the crop? The sickle that is used to cut the crop yesterday would not have rust. You understand? The sickle that you cut the crop throughout the day will be completely rust free, will be sterilized in its own way. And therefore I did not die. If she were to cut that umbilical cord between me and my mother with a rusted sickle, Brahmins and Banyas would not have had a problem in this country with me at all. I would have gone long time back, there and there. So they are saying that why is this fellow born writing all this stuff? This is how great common sense science they apply. Did you write a small lesson about it, barber woman? And then who washed my mother's clothes for those 21 days? There was Chakali Lingam. What did we do as shepherds, kurmas? After my birth, Chakali Lingama is not allowed to come inside the house. She would beg the food from outside the house. I was shocked when my mother said, if she was my this thing, she washed my clothes, your clothes, why are you keeping her outside? Why are you keeping her the last left out, giving us left out foods? Now this is the problem. You have no brains of childhood equal. You are not allowed to think. That is the problem. If our children are taught that way, I'll tell you, Indian education system will be far superior than American education system. And you have to close all these coaching centers, complete, and close all this Narayana Sri Chaitanya nonsense. Absolute rubbish education. Let the children study in proper schools up to 12, then up to graduation, compete near state with that graduation itself. That's how it has to be.
So, are you a Telugu or why I'm asking? Have you watched Shekhar Kamula's movies? Yeah. So that itself would give an answer to a question because for example, the entire Happy Days movie or how Shekhar Kamula's movies sort of symbolize the engineering education. It was predominantly mostly who was initially taking or doing Bachelor of Technology BTech was mostly Reddys and Kammas, especially from the Andhra Pradesh. Then slowly the shift turned towards chartered accountant and the management courses again mostly whoever having the business they were doing it. Now there were references Zhang Bao a scholar who had tried to link this education dowry system and also mostly focusing on the NRIs that too Reddys and Kammas. Now the other thing is when for example today there's this Swero's Day, H.R. Sankaran sir's birthday also. Now there are lot of rural marginalized community like students who studied in the social welfare residential colleges. Now they are now in the companies who are working with the so-called big corporate artificial intelligence companies, and the slogan also that we are not just job seekers, we are also job givers. Now there is this transition also that is there where the students from the scheduled caste and the other lower castes are also coming into that untouched sectors. So yes, in India this caste and education that link was clearly there, and also there was caste the gender and discipline also. For example, in South India, if it is a girl, MBBS, if it is a boy, BTech. I was also, but I have overcome that and I took the roadside Romeo Bachelor of Arts education. But luckily, I was in HCU, JNU. That's how, my education went. Because this transition of, subjects discipline is something that we have to understand probably now, like being as a faculty, lecturer in a private university, Dr. Ravikant, might tell more on that. Even the liberal arts, for example. But in private universities, per semester, they are paying lakhs and lakhs. Now, who are studying now? Studying Bachelor of Arts earlier was seen as a roadside Romeo course. Are what would you do? You would just, roam on the roads, like, how you would roam on the Amirpet streets, Maitrivanam. Right? That's what, our parents used to say. But now there is a lot of demand, and that too, most of the private universities are having liberal arts course now. I think this is the paradox that one needs to understand, which again, Professor Kancha, a bit discusses in his last, two chapters.
It's in private university, but in University of Hyderabad. Today, if you look at the students coming for languages, let's say Telugu and Hindi, it's largely Bahujan. In Urdu also, yes, but there are some Kashmiris coming and people from other places coming. But languages and arts largely, even within the general category, because we follow the reservation system, even from within the general category merit list, quote unquote merit list, students from other categories get into these language courses. Whereas in other courses, because of the reservation system, there are all kinds of categories. But yeah, the case of language kind of is, it stands out as an example.